Well, thank you for joining us today for our all candidates meeting for Burnaby East Riding. My name is Angie Whitfield and I'm the CEO here at the Burnaby Board of Trade. And with me today, we have Ria Aurora from the BC NDP Party and Sarah Shashtarian from the BC Green Party. Thank you both for being here with us. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to recognize that we are meeting today on the traditional homelands of the Halkomelem and the Swinomish speaking people, and we expend our great appreciation for the opportunity to hold this event on their territory. And before we get started, I also have to thank our large list of supporters who make the work that we do here at the Burnaby Board of Trade possible. I'd like to thank our silver partners, Appia Development, BMO, Fortis BC, Pacific Link College, Prospera Credit Union, TD Insurance, Trans Mountain, and the Vancouver Port Authority. Our gold partners, ABC Recycling, BD Developments, Electronic Art, Pacific Blue Cross, and Scotiabank. And our platinum partners, Alexander College, BCIT School of Business and Media, Burnaby Now, Parkland Corporation, and Simon Fraser University. Such an incredible list of supporters we have, and we are very grateful that they continue to invest in the Burnaby business community. Okay, so before we get started on our Q&As, I'm just going to go over some quick guidelines of how we're going to run this session today. I'm going to give each of the candidates 2 minutes to do a quick opening remark and introduce themselves. And then we're going to go into some questions that have been raised by the business community specific to our Burnaby business community. And they'll have 2 minutes each, and there's just 2, so we'll bounce back and forth and we'll rotate between them. All right, so that covers all the groundwork. So first I'm going to pass it over to Ria to please introduce yourself.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the Burnaby Board of Trade. Hello, everyone. My name is Ria Aurora, and I'm your BC NDP candidate in Burnaby East. It's so great to be here with you all on the unceded and stolen territories of the Halkomelem and Swinomish speaking peoples. I recognize that I am a settler and that I have a role and responsibility in not only informing people of truth and reconciliation, but also supporting land back. Things are tough out there. There's so much coming at people right now. I talk to people at the doorsteps who are worried about how they're going to pay their bills. Parents who are concerned about their kids' futures, and many students and youth who are wondering what their futures look like. It is really important in this moment to have a leader that is laser focused on taking action for all of us, who is in our corner and on our side. That's David Eby, including me as a candidate here in BC NDP or in Burnaby East and everywhere in our province. David's not afraid of any challenge. We hit the ground running pretty hard a few years ago when he became the leader, and ever since, our team have been taking on big challenges to make your life better. Helping families with costs, tackling the housing crisis, making sure healthcare is there when you need it, building a stronger economy that works better for people. And now in Burnaby, David BC and the BC NDP have started billions to expand and renew Burnaby General, built hundreds of units of student housing at SFU, and brought in affordable $10 a day childcare. We're starting to see some good results, and we can't let up now. John Rustad's cuts to healthcare would mean firing healthcare workers and canceling hospital projects. This is a risk we simply cannot afford. Ripping up our housing plan would jack up rent prices when we're just starting to see them come down. And John Rustad's candidates are more focused on spreading strange and scary conspiracy theories than helping you. And I think the Conservative candidate's name is Colin. And unfortunately, Colin is a risk we can't afford in Burnaby East. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Okay, and now over to you, Tara, for your introduction.
So thank you to the Burnaby Board of Trade as well. And my name is Sarah Shashtarian, and I'm proud and privileged to be residing and working on the lands of the Hunkaminam and Squamish-speaking peoples, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and the Squamish nations. I've lived in the Forest Grove area for the past 22 years and have been so involved in Indigenous rights, regarding the Trans Mountain project, and just seeking justice for them and, a better emergency evacuation processes for the people in the Forest Grove area. So I'll just give you a little brief overview about myself. I'm on the board of Fair Vote Canada for Participatory Democracy. I'm the co-chair of the West Coast Climate Action Network. We are a conglomerate of about 253 climate action organizations like Dogwood, Stand.Earth, Sierra Club, etc. Many, many more. I'm also on the board of the New West Film Society, where we promote avant-garde films. In fact, we're having a film festival at the end of October. And I have been on the Environment Committee for Burnaby Council for the past 6 years. This is my 6th year running. Why am I running? I like Ria. I did also run for the municipal elections in 2022. And what's kept this passion alive is because, as Ria was also saying, we've seen things get from bad to worse. So my emphasis is on housing, so more purpose-built rentals, more cooperative housing, because I've seen the benefits of it in the Forest Grove area, as well as livable wages, food security, childcare, and I think as per the Greens plan, we hope to make 2026 where we will have all $10 a day childcare plan and more childcare spaces. And the last but not least is, the healthcare, having, healthcare centers where they're one-stop shops for doctors, health professionals to operate and manage primary care instead of acute care, which is for, main hospitals. And, moving from a fossil-free economy to a sustainable future in a just transition way. So this is my primary focus. And also, since we know that in Canada, our economy is a tertiary economy, which is a service economy, and not so much a resource development economy. So that's what my emphasis would be. Thank you.
Thank you both for your introductions. All right, I'm going to move over to some Q&A, and I will rotate between you two as to who gets to answer first. And I'm going to start with one of the issues that has been identified by BC Chamber, and we hear from our businesses as well, is the increasing cost of doing business and the challenge that is putting on our local businesses. So my first question to you is, if elected, what would you do to reduce that burden on businesses, specifically here in Burnaby? And I'll start with you, Tara.
Okay, this is really a very good question because, as Ria was saying, we both are knocking on doors, and this is one of the challenges because a lot of businesses feel they might not be here in the next 4 years. They feel they'll be gone. So what would we do? I think one of the challenges I've heard at the doorstep is, for example, opening up childcare spaces. There's so much of permitting requirement, stringent, and sometimes a little impractical, from the Fraser Health, Coastal Health, and the high rents by landlords. So, to give let's say, childcare facilities, some sort of a tax break. The same thing going for doctors. If they would want to have their practices in Burnaby, then how would we retain them? And that is also giving them some sort of tax breaks because, rental costs are astronomical in Burnaby. as well as encouraging businesses to come here. That would be, offering them affordable housing facilities, good transportation networks, and stuff like that.
Thank you, Tara. And Ria.
Yeah, it's such an important question. And I grew up in the Westridge neighborhood of Burnaby. And my parents ran a pizza place on Sperling and Hastings called Pizza Z for over 10 years. And I remember that, they had quite a bit of overhead costs. And so growing up working there, you learned quite a bit. And then as I got older, I started my own company. There are very few things that I think we can control on our own, which might be our expenditure, what we're able to save, what we're able to reuse, how fresh we're able to keep our products and that kind of thing. And then there are areas where the government can step in and support us. And so I think about the employer health tax, right? Over 90% of businesses now don't have to pay that. So that takes some of the burden off small business owners in Burnaby. And then cutting red tape for BC's restaurants, wineries, distilleries, breweries, and modernizing the liquor laws and licensing. And that would essentially reduce the administrative burdens and on the lower risk establishments so that our government can focus on those that pose a higher risk. But then there's also the BC film tax credit rebate increase, which is amazing. It promotes international production here and also 7,000 new jobs, which means a boost to our economy. And the local restaurants and eateries and coffee shops are the places where a lot of these folks that are working on set will go. And that would help stimulate our local economy. The Conservatives led by John Rustad are too focused on mega corporations and the ultra rich. If they're giving tax breaks to them, it means that the burden will fall on us and small business owners, everyday working people. And that's a risk that we just can't afford.
Okay. All right. Another issue that is going to be no surprise that we're asking about, you both mentioned in your opening as well, is housing affordability. And as you know, it's affecting young families, seniors, employers, employees, and front of mind on all business owners as well. If elected, can you tell us about what you will do to increase the housing needs here in Burnaby? And for this one, we'll start with Ria.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I mean, everyone deserves a place to call home, and especially in Burnaby, I know that my neighbors right across the street from me about 7 years back couldn't afford the increase in the property tax because they were, a lot of blue collar families that had, working class jobs and just couldn't afford the increase. And so they ended up moving. And I think the important piece is that we are able to stay in the city and work in the city close to home, just like anyone else would want anywhere in this province. I'm a renter currently and moving back in with my mom because half of my salary goes to renting, which is wild, on top of my utilities and groceries, internet costs, whatever. I mean, these are all things that I need, but it's just so unaffordable. And so, the BC NDP came up with this amazing action plan for housing. We are building 300,000 units over the next 10 years. This is going to provide space within Burnaby as well. And someone like me who's dying for those units to be built so I can buy one of them, I'll be able to save money while I'm living with my mom. And I'm lucky. I have that safety net. Not everybody does. The other piece is that we want to fast track BC's factory home construction, right? That means that we can get builds done in 12 weeks and we can limit construction waste by 70%. Also targeting carbon emissions by 43%, which is amazing. And then I think also it's important to note that rental rates have lowered by 6%. And that means that we're doing something right here and we have to continue doing what we're doing. And Rustad has said that he would scrap our housing plan, which is wild, and replace it with what? Chip Wilson gets a new yacht in his $80 million backyard. Like what's going to happen there? That makes me very nervous in the middle of a housing crisis. The math is not mathing, and so we need it to make sense. And with Rustad and the Conservatives, it will not make sense.
Thank you, Ria. Tara, can you give us your comments on housing affordability?
Sure. And thank you for the question. What the BC Greens have promised to do is put 1.5 billion into housing over the next 5 years. And that would mean also, building purpose-built rentals. And that is really important near transit hubs. Because today, as Ria was saying, I have 2 adult children, and they have not been able to move out because, as I mentioned before, our rental rates are astronomical. The other thing I would try and do is work with the municipality to increase the housing stock, the rental stock in market housing, the non-market rentals, increase that ratio, because we need so much of housing that that has to also be a priority if we can do that with the municipality. The other thing is gentle densification in single family neighborhoods. So sit down with municipalities, see where the zoning is there, and build the cooperatives. I've seen we have about 6 cooperatives in the in the Forest Grove area, and I just feel that is the way to go, is to build these cooperatives. And so everybody, whether they're young renters like Ria or my children, or they're young families, they have cooperative housing. So this is what we plan to do. Yeah, BC Greens.
Next, I'd like to move over to workforce development. This is an area that the Burnaby Board of Trade has identified as a key priority for our organization, and we've really invested in programs that support workforce development, understanding that in order for our businesses to thrive, we need to ensure that we have the people, and those people are trained to fill the roles that we're going to need in the coming years. That skills gap has been identified as a concern for the business community. If elected, can you touch on what priorities, what you will do to help address the labor challenges that we're facing here in Burnaby? And this time, I believe we get to start with Tara.
Okay. Yes, I think labor challenges, this has been, when I've been, speaking to people at the doorstep, I think people who have jobs, like electricians and all, and they want to advance into further, just being able to install heat pumps or to be able to install solar panels. These are the challenges that they're looking at. They need to hone their skills, but they don't have the money. So to give bursaries in order to do that. And also, I think create some sort of industrial reserve areas, if we can, with the municipalities, so that we can further food processing and jobs like that, food processing, manufacturing, which we need to do to diversify our economy. So I think, these are the things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ria?
Yeah, addressing labor challenges is a multifaceted issue. It requires different areas of approach. And I met with an electrician a little while ago, Logan, who is a budding electrician. He's had over 6,000 hours of work, and did try to go to BCIT, but there was a 1-year wait list. So he had no choice and he had to start working. And he's ready to challenge the exam. And so, when I think about one of the actions that we're taking is to double apprenticeships. That means that people like Logan that are looking to enter the field of trades, and we're talking about people that are 16 years old and up, they can have access to this. And we're also doing a couple different things. So we're boosting skills training. We have a BC Access grant for $4,000 a year, reducing the financial burden on students. And then there's also a healthcare assistant program, just as an example of the sort of creative solutions that the BC NDP are coming up with, is providing on-the-job training for care aides. And that has led to 7,000 new care aides being hired, and it was at zero cost to them. There's also the BC Film tax credit rebate increase and production services tax credit. That also means 7,000 jobs in the industry, but also they get 36% of that money back, which is really important for them to be able to reinvest. And that means that they can reinvest in their workers. Rustad will hike insurance rates. He's talked about $500, and he'll have tax breaks for the rich. And we just can't afford it right now.
Yeah. And that actually segues well into our next question. I wanted to talk about the film industry and the recent announcement that your government has made. 66% of film studios in Lower Mainland are here in Burnaby, and the spin-off is huge for our local economy. As you mentioned earlier, restaurants and service providers have a large impact on this industry. So we were glad to see that the government has promised to refresh some of those tax credits moving forward if elected. So Tara, I'm hoping that you can comment on what you would do to support the industry, and then Tara, I'll give you another opportunity to elaborate on what your plans would be going forward. And I believe it's Ria's turn to go first this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're very excited about. It's a creative approach, and it's a solution that not only brings 7,000 jobs to the region, but as you said, 66% is in Burnaby, and a lot in Burnaby East, actually, in our riding. I used to work at Global TV back in 2011, 2012 on Enterprise Street, and I remember seeing all of the studios around. And the main piece is that we stimulate the local economy through this. People that are here are going to be using the restaurants, going to the coffee shops, having their late night meals, and relaxing from a day of working 15 hours on a film set, probably with not enough time to eat. And that means that those local businesses will benefit from it as well. So I'm super excited about it because, I am from the labor movement, and UBCP ACTRA, as well as IATSE 891. These are all unionized folks that are also going to benefit, which is stable, secure income, and good paying jobs, which means that they can stay in Burnaby, and that also addresses part of our labor shortage. So it's just something I'm very excited about. I'm very proud of our government.
And Tara.
Yeah. I too am excited. I mean, I live right next to both Mammoth Studios, and I think the other one is Bridge Studios at Lake City. And, just with offices coming up in the Lake City area, you could see food trucks, which you never saw. It was pretty desolate and, not much business or nothing happening there. But now you see, as I said, food trucks. And as Ria was saying, that there's going to be, the service industry, a lot of people utilizing restaurants and other kinds of services, over the years with this increase in the service tax, right? It's the service tax. But one section of society is going to get a little sidetracked, and those are the BC producers. I have friends who are in the film industry who are BC producers, and their tax credit has not gone up. So now with people, just saying that the Hollywood studios have these tax breaks or this, preferential service tax increase, they are not going to look towards BC producers. So I would just want there to be a differential, system where they could also be, their tax rebates could be increased so that they don't, come out losers from this. Yeah, thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, and just one final question. I want to give you both the opportunity to, just in a general context, let us know how you plan to support Burnaby businesses in your riding of Burnaby East, should you be elected. So Tara, I will let you go first. Oh, Tara, you're muted.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to hear this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you're going to get a better answer from Ria, but the thing is, I have been talking to people, you know, at the doorstep, and I think the one of the main reasons for them feeling also that they won't be able to do a business in Burnaby is the safety reason. Now, I live in a very safe neighborhood. So, that came as quite a shock. How would we make businesses safe? So it's up to the landlord each time that they rent out a business in in an unsafe area, perceived unsafe area, that they should have better security measures. I think that would be one of the things that I would do. And the other thing would be to just speak to them, identify what are their needs, what would they need. Would they need more of a tax break? Would they need I think the other thing would be if they could make their workers have living wages, and not pass on the burden to the customers. And I believe there was one business model where this business was given the tax breaks. I think it was in Vancouver, where this food and beverages business was able to give their employees a living wage with health benefits, and then there wasn't so much of a burden of having tips, the tips sort of factored into the business. So I think one has to start thinking outside the box to see what are the ways in which one can support one's businesses. Yeah.
Thank you, Tara. And over to you, Ria.
Yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of outreach throughout, this campaign and even prior, because I was running in the nomination. You got to knock lots of doors, and I was connecting with business owners in the Kensington Plaza, Koreatown, SFU, of course, Community, and Crest Plaza, and talking to the owners about the issues that matter to them. And one of the things that Tara mentioned that I just wanted to reference, which is super important about renters and with their dealing with issues with their landlords, business renters. The BC NDP has put in the platform that there will be an online dispute resolution process for renters dealing with their business landlords, which will take a lot of that financial burden off of going through the court system. So I think that's just an important piece to mention. And that will be really immediately helpful to people, without having to either defend themselves or hire a lawyer in some cases. My door is always open because I know that small business is the backbone of the economy. It's what I grew up in. And my parents were a great example of how you can live your life and provide for your family, provide for our education and daily costs through that work. I want to make sure that business owners in any area of Burnaby know that they can come and speak to me at any time. Not only am I an ally, but I seek to be a bridge with the government and will support them and advocate for them in the ways that they need. I also want to, think about, you asked about what my priority would be. And I think it's ensuring that we focus on affordability, because small business owners rely, on their businesses to take care of their families. And when we boost the local economy, that means more money in people's pockets. And I I encourage all small business owners that are going to be watching this after to think about the real risk we face with Rustad's approach to tax cuts for the rich and raising ICBC insurance rates. We need to keep as much money in our pockets, and Rustad plans to give tax breaks to his friends. And that means that we will not have that money in our pockets because we will be expected to make up for that loss. So I encourage everyone to really think about that. And I just want to thank you so much, Angie, for having me here and hearing from my sister Tara, who I have deep respect and admiration for, and really appreciate your perspective on so many issues. Yeah, thank you so much. Vote for me, BC NDP, Burnaby East, Ria Aurora. Shameless plug.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angie. And this has been really interesting for me, quite educative, since I haven't had a business background or a labor background, but I have a human background. So I think that ties into it very nicely. And thanks
The
for
most
being here.
important part of business, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
human part of it.
Well, thank you both. We're coming up to the end of our time here, but I really appreciate your time. It's always great to have a personal talk to the business community and get to see the faces behind the names of those that are running. So I wish you both the best of luck in the upcoming election, and a reminder for everybody tuning in that you can advance vote anytime now, and election day is Saturday, October 19th. Thank you both and best of luck.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.